I'm back, but this is part 2. I am 38 weeks pregnant, and I'm talking about the loss of my son Zane. As you can, I hope you can see the picture really well. This is my baby. But so I'm gonna share my miscarriage story about my baby Zion. I was only 6 weeks pregnant with that baby. But shortly after we buried Zane, we buried him like January the 29th, I think. I had his funeral. And, March, April. By May, we had moved in this house. But before we moved in, you all know, anybody that bought a house is a lot of paperwork. We had discovered we were pregnant. And I was so happy. I was like, God is redeeming me quick. Excuse me. I was like, God is giving me back my blessings quick. And I went to the doctor, and I was about 5 weeks. And I'm telling you, I had the most bizarre treatment. I figured if I switched hospitals, then maybe I would get, because I didn't want to be associated with the hospitals that I had Zane with, because when I told them that he died, nobody wants to talk. I find that strange. Nobody had nothing to say. No condolences, no flowers or nothing. And so after that, I switched hospitals, and I figured, well, I'll go somewhere. My husband used to work at this hospital. I used to work at this hospital. I also used to work at the other one as well. And I felt like maybe they would treat me better. So when I found out I was pregnant with Zion, I was about 5 weeks. Do you know the nurse could not tell me? I've never had an experience where I go to an ultrasound and find out how many weeks I am along, and they can't even find the baby's heartbeat. I saw the sac, but she couldn't even tell me if that baby heartbeat was beating or not. And I'm like, she said, there go the baby. And I'm like, well, how many weeks am I? You're about 4 or 5 weeks. It's too hard to tell right now, though, she told me. It's like, okay. So round about, I'll say about 6 weeks, that's just my guess, I noticed something different about this pregnancy. I began to see a lot of brown spotting early in. And I have never, even with Zachariah, Zipporah, Zoe, Zane, Zariah, and this baby, I have never, I know my body, never spotted with any of those pregnancies. And I knew something was different because I was at work. I had just got this new job, and I just kept going to the bathroom checking myself, and my gut was telling me something just wasn't right. So when we finally moved here, it was a Sunday night. We had got all the boxes in, and I went to the bathroom, and I saw blood. And I told Sam, let's go to the hospital. I don't bleed. I started crying. I told him I don't want to lose another baby. He tried to assure me that everything was going to be okay. So we went to the hospital, stayed there forever. The doctor told me that the baby is fine, that I had a UTI. And he gave me some medicine to take. But by the time I got home that Sunday morning, the blood began to flow like a period. And I kept ignoring it. And I kept telling Sam, he said, baby, it's probably just the infection, but it just didn't feel right. So I was out picking furniture, and I came back home, which fell on a Tuesday. I had to call in because I was going to be late. But I came back home, and when I got home, my stomach was cramping so bad. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? So I called some people to pray, and they just, I'm not even in a relationship with those folks. They just lied. I'm just going to say it like it is. And I tried to hold on to hope, but I knew that I was going to get ready to have a miscarriage. So I went to the bathroom, sat on the commode, sac fell out, blood everywhere. I called the ambulance. Sam got the kids. They were in daycare at the time. Got everything arranged. And another heartbreak. So I lost 2 babies in 1 year. And the miscarriage really sent me down the drain. And I wrote a book about that. I had to choose to live through it. So I have 2 books just sitting, waiting to be published. And I'm going to get them out to you guys. But that's when my eyes became open that there is something bigger going on here. Why, with my 4th child that I had, and turned out when the autopsy report came back, he died of sepsis. And all they had to do with sepsis is run a blood test, and they could have caught that infection, saved his life. I seen another lady that shared her story about her son having sepsis, and she told me he almost died, but the doctors managed to save him. But my baby wasn't good enough to save, and it's a hurting thing. So, in those 2 moments of losing, I had to rethink, how did I want to do things? I really had to sit down, and I lost confidence in the medical field, period. Because they failed my son, and all the trauma with the police made it extra harder. They didn't care about how I was grieving. And then to get pregnant with another one, and the nurse don't even know how to tell you whether there's a heartbeat. So that baby, Zion, was already gone when she got inside of me. She was already gone. It would have been nice if they could have told me. And instead of me announcing it to the world, I was so excited. So, yeah, it really made me rethink how I wanted to birth. Let me hold that thought. I have to check this camera because it only do 30-minute clips. So I got to get me another camera, you guys. But it really made me rethink how I wanted to give birth. So I did some researches, and I found articles that Black women often get ignored a lot. And I've heard a lot of personal stories. I seen one story with this Black lady. She was a doctor, and she went in, I think she caught preeclampsia later in the pregnancy. She went in to have the baby early. They gave her a C-section. She never did get to go home with her baby. She died. I've heard stories like Black women go in, they tell you, hey, I'm in labor. They don't believe you. Oh, you're not in labor, go home. And the baby head just sticking out, and they don't believe them until it just actually happens. I've read statistics, and I read books on why this is happening. I read this book called Killing Black Innocence, and with our history as African Americans, it go way back to slavery. It go back to controlling the population, controlling the population of Black babies. Once slavery ended, people and our ancestors became free. As long as they were slaves, women could have as many babies. Black women could have as many babies as they want. But as soon as we became free from slavery, then there came a strategized plan on how to reduce black women giving birth to black babies. So eugenics was invented by Margaret Sanger. So she teamed up with the black religious preachers to convince black women that it's okay to get sterilized, and some women were sterilized and they didn't even know it. So I did a lot of history research. Excuse me. I did a lot of research on why this is happening. Why does this continue to happen? And today, as black women, we are so dumbed down by this same society called Planned Parenthood. Black women now, we are the most women that have abortions. So this was created through Margaret Sanger. So, and now we do it because it's been programmed. We do it like it ain't nothing. If that baby is not convenient for us, our community will go have an abortion. I seen a story on TikTok where the doctor told this African American lady, so she said that the baby's not going to survive or something wrong with the baby. So he convinced her to go get an abortion. I'm like, I asked her, I said, was it because of COVID? And she said, no. She said, he just told me my baby. And do you see how trusting we are as a community that let me go pray about it, or let me rethink this, and I see white women that is told the same thing. They're told that their baby may have a genetic disorder or something, and that white woman says, no, I'm going to take my chances. They take their chances of having the baby come out fine. And I'm like, God, why is it us as African Americans, why are we so quick to give in to this system? Because this system we've been trained to go to the hospital. So like I said, I just had to regroup, rethink how I wanted to birth my babies. And when I finally got pregnant, I tried the system again. I'm not saying all midwives are bad, but they are now being programmed. A lot of midwives are being programmed that they see the slightest thing wrong, they're turning into midwives. They're sending you off to the hospital. So mom don't get the desired birth that she wants. That happened to me as well. If you look at the beginning of my story, I share how I was ripped off by a midwife. And that was my last straw. It's like, okay, I lost a child. My miscarriage was mishandled. Now, I really want to do a natural birth. And now I'm getting ripped off by the midwife. So I just cut everybody off. I did. And like I said, I'm not against every midwife. But if I can do it unassisted, I will do it from now. I don't trust them anymore. Because my trust is just broken. So I started doing unassisted. I read a book and God sent me a friend to help me do this. And I have my husband, and that's how I do it now. So I just had to rethink how I would bring my babies into the world. And so I just don't understand. Well, I do understand. I explained to you, it's a system that's created years and years ago. Like the book I read, it's called Killing Black Innocents. And so we've been systematically put on that program, and you know, my mom never, I didn't know nothing about home birth. My mom, my grandma, mom, nobody taught me that, hey, there is a other option, that you don't have to go in the hospital to have a baby. Most African Americans, and I was talking to my doula about this, most ladies that she been a doula to, including myself, had to have something, trauma, to happen to them for them to turn to natural birth. So that's what happened for me. Because at first, if you would have came to me and said, hey, we have a problem in the African American community, women feel scared to give birth to their babies in the hospital because doctors won't listen to them, I wouldn't have believed it, because I was having babies like 1, 2, 3. I had Zachariah, Zipporah, and Zoe, and then even when I look back at their births, I see some things that I didn't like. Zachariah was vacuumed head first because they say he was stuck in between my bones. My bones wasn't opening up, but he was vacuumed, and he didn't cry when he came out. So I didn't like that he was vacuumed. He would, if God designed me to have a baby, it's gonna come out on his own, and I didn't like that. And he wasn't crying, and they had to, you know, he wasn't short of breath, but they had to get all that stuff out his nose. Zipporah was breached, and I was misinformed about breached babies. I was rushed into go ahead and have them in the hospital. Medicine, I was taught to fear pain instead of embracing it and getting through it. So that's what the medicine was there for. With Zoe heart rate was going down. And so, and the medicine that they had me on, the upper door, they had it so high, it felt like my chest was for the bust. And I asked them when they turned it down. So they had to rush her out of me because the heart rate was going down. So I see the cracks now. And with Zane, he just died. He just was neglected altogether. He died. My 5th baby, Zion, which I call, just totally ignored. I didn't know, the baby didn't have no heartbeat. Zariah, you know, midwife tried to mishandle her, but God didn't let it be. God said, no, I'm going to let you do this yourself. And now with this baby, like I said, I see a doctor, but God got this baby as well. So I hate that it took trauma to get me to this point, but it is what it is. And my son, he lives on. He has really taught me the lessons of losing a baby, how to be an even better mother. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to have had him for 2 months and to have just, you know, experienced him, even if it was for a short time. But he inspired me to open my eyes and look at what's really going on. And like I said, I want to say this again. This lady right here, Cindy McVar, her story is tragic. It's something that the medical system did, and she had a stillborn, and she's a white lady. So I'm not gonna say that some white women are not ignored. But I am gonna say that we as African American women, we are ignored higher than white women, and we are programmed quicker than white women. We will not research. We will just trust what a doctor says because they got a degree, and we will not research. And I would encourage you, you know, some people are comfortable with being in the hospital with their doctors. That's your business. I don't trust them no more. So you guys, that is my story. Next week, I'm going to really try to get on the birthing ball and show you signs of labor. And hopefully I can get the camera like I want. Me and my husband is still undecided whether I should just record on the phone or record on the camera, because he feel like he don't want to be running back and forth checking on me. I hope I'm not I'm going to be in pain. I just hope that I can still be able to get it on this camera, even though it's a 30-minute clip. I'm working on getting me some more equipment. This is really a photography camera. This is not a video camera. But anyway, guys, peace and blessings. I hope you enjoyed my story, and I'll be back when I turn 39 weeks. We almost getting there. So God bless you guys, and we will see you next week. Peace.